Well, Struddy, talk about an eventful night for Captain Connor McDavid in Game 1 of the Western Conference Final. And he said, had it not been him that got that goal, had the Oilers not won this game, it would have been a pretty sleepless night. And understandable, right? That 4-minute penalty to start overtime, then the game on his stick, and he gets robbed. And at the end of the day, he ends up scoring the game-winning goal. It was kind of the cherry on top of a kind of a bizarre night for the captain.
Yeah, he was heavily involved. A high event night for him in many ways. And what I liked though about it was the response. So the 4-minute penalty, that's a tough one early to start overtime, basically. And you could see he challenged the ref, and then there was acceptance. It's like, okay, I'm going to go in the box. Yep. And obviously, you're not loving it, but there's really nothing you can do. They reviewed it. They decided that was the case. He has an incredible chance to score an Oettinger. And Oettinger makes a good save. Connor, usually that's automatic, wasn't able to get it by that time. Again, he didn't throw his head back and slam the boards or anything. Just calmness. And I think that helps his team, makes them feel better. Okay, well, he didn't go the way he wants, but he's not losing it, so we don't need to lose it. And then they go out for that second overtime. A great forecheck by Nugent Hopkins, and Bouchard makes a great pass to McDavid, and he's there to bury it. And again, he's happy, but he points at the guy who made the pass. To me, this is the guy who was just single focused on getting it done for his team and winning the games. It doesn't matter who gets it done, but he was able to do it tonight. But it was just about the win. I think they're a focused group, and it shows, and it comes from their captain.
Can you imagine how it must have felt sitting in the penalty box for 4 minutes, knowing you'd made a mistake? So you're angry, you don't love the call, and he didn't, but you still got to just sit there, Struds. It had to be a horrendous feeling. In fact, here's McDavid on how that felt sitting there for 4 minutes.
Long, really long, really long, miserable. I hated every second of it, but
I bet he hated every second of it. And I don't know if the broadcast showed it or not, Struds, but after that penalty was killed, McDavid came out of the box, and then there was a whistle, and he went down the bench and kind of fist bumped everybody on the bench, in particular the penalty kill guys. He was so appreciative that they were able to come through for him, and that gave him a chance to come through for his team. He had only scored 2 goals to this point in the playoffs. He'd been piling up the assists like crazy, Struds, but there were a lot of raised eyebrows at that 2-goal total. And I think that's fair. Goal scoring matters a tremendous amount in the playoffs. It wasn't a high-impact night the rest of the night for McDavid, but he picked his spots and he found his moments. How do you think he's playing, Struds?
I mean, there's a lot of attention on him as the most offensively dynamic player, in the playoffs still now, and he gets a lot of attention. And when you're seeing other series, specifically Vancouver, I thought they were really trying to be physical on him and take his space away by using some really big D-men. And now in this series, he's facing other guys, maybe not quite as big, but quite mobile or experienced in defending, with guys like Tanev and Lindell. So he's going to figure out how to find some open ice and find opportunities to do what he wants to do. I think most often the reason he's getting a lot of assists is because so many people are drawn towards him that opens up or frees up someone's line mates to find space or find opportunity to score.
Esa Lindell and Chris Tanev, the two he was on the ice the most against, 16 minutes and 16 seconds at 5-on-5 against Lindell, had 50% of the shot share, 60% of the shot attempt share, I should say, when he was out there against Chris Tanev. We have to talk about the penalty kill, Struds. They were phenomenal in the first round, perfect. Excellent in the second round, perfect for the last few games of that series. And then once again, perfect tonight. But that kill in overtime, I mean, we always think of the Oilers, and it's the power play that's the sharpest weapon that they have, right? That's not the case anymore. Their penalty kill is a sharper weapon now than their power play, if that's possible.
When Matthias Ekholm joined the Oilers, a couple of years ago, he talked about the need of this team being comfortable winning 1-0 games or going into a third period being up 2-1. And part of that is knowing that you can kill a penalty when needed. You can't just say, okay, we'll let them score on the penalty kill, then we're going to score on the power play. It doesn't work like that. And they've taken a great deal of pride, the group that kills penalties, the group of forwards and the group of D, taking a lot of pride to say, this is ours. They've taken ownership of it. And the way that they're moving together, the way that their sticks are in the lanes, you can see a real effort to try to push the puck to the outside of the ice rather than let them get the inside of the ice. And you saw it tonight, quite a few shots from the outside, and you're outside the dots. You're like, okay, well, they're going to get shots from somewhere. We'd rather them shoot from the outside, the wings, than rather right down Main Street. So they've done a really good job, and credit, the coaching staff, including Mark Stewart, former NHL defenseman, in creating this type of kind of bravado and confidence in a group that has really become very important, as you mentioned, for the Oilers.
It was a priority for Chris Knobloch, too, to give guys defined roles when he arrived here. I think he felt like things were a little top-heavy, and so he came up with, set pairs up front, guys that were going to penalty kill together every single game. They've taken ownership of it. They've been one of the best in the league. They're the best in the playoffs. They're making a difference every single night now for the Edmonton Oilers. Struds, coming into this series, there was supposed to be this discrepancy depth-wise, right? The Dallas Stars, generally considered the deepest team in the league. Lines 1 through 4, their blue line, their goaltender, the whole bit. I have to say that at even strength tonight, I thought the Oilers did a heck of a good job against Dallas. I didn't notice this discrepancy in depth. I didn't notice wave after wave, line after line coming at the Oilers at even strength that they were having a hard time managing. Are the Oilers maybe a little deeper than a lot are giving credit to them for heading into this series? Or what did you sense in terms of their ability to absorb anything Dallas had to throw at them at even strength tonight?
I don't think that there's some of the name recognition in the Oilers' bottom six that you'll see with Dallas or other teams, right? There's some bigger names there. I think the fact that Dylan Holloway, who was in the minors most of the second half of the year or injured, is now in a top 6 role. So that kind of pushes guys down as well. And not guys down, but just puts guys on the third line that are a little stronger than fourth line. And you got to keep in mind, Adam Henrique is still out.
Looks good, by the way. He's been looking good in practice. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back for game 2, so that'll even help more.
Yeah, so if he comes back, and that really helps the boost. I'd anticipate he'd play on the third line. He may be center there to help kind of just get a little bit more, some good, smart hockey and a guy that can continue to win faceoffs. So on the other side, though, with Dallas, Rupe Hintz, he's a huge part of their team. Big center, can score, can skate. So you bring him back, that pushes a lot of people down. You're not pushing it from the third line to the fourth line. You're pushing from line 1 down all the way down. So I think that'll help reinforce it. But again, the name recognition for the Oilers in their bottom 6 wouldn't be what other teams are having. And I think for teams that don't, or players or fans that don't watch the Oilers that often, are unfamiliar with their group, they might not recognize what this bottom 6 has been doing recently in the roles defined by their new coach.
Got to talk about the goaltending coming into this series. Stuart Skinner and Jake Oettinger. Clear advantage, all the pundits, and understandably so when you look at the 2 resumes. But on night number 1, Stuart Skinner went save for save and outdueled him for the win. Struds, I can't stress enough how important I think this was for Stuart Skinner, because while he was able to grab the net back in the last series, I wouldn't say that he put an exclamation point on having it back in either Game 6 or Game 7. He was good. He did his job. He absolutely went in there and he locked it down and he helped his team win. No question. Confidence building for him. But this is next level. This is next round. This is pressure like he hasn't faced. So to me, this was a big step, and we saw it immediately after the puck drop. We saw signs of it.
Yeah, he did. There was a breakaway early, and Dadonov was able to score. He makes a great save on that. Then Ben gets a second chance, and he's able to stop that one too. And I think maybe that helps him get going. But you always hear about goaltenders wanting action. They don't want to have tens of minutes between their shots
sitting around.
And we saw that in the previous one where at times there's a game where maybe Stuart Skinner would have 4 shots in the first 30 minutes. Like, that's not very much. So I think he's going to get more, or he did get more shots against Dallas. He will continue to get more shots than he's seen in previous ones. And I think that helps him stay engaged in the game, ready, and then your mind doesn't drift. I'm not suggesting he's not intense, but when you're not getting shots, you're like, okay, when am I getting my next shot? I don't want to let this one fumble this one. So I think that's important for him as well. So he played well tonight. The team's going to feel good about what he's done. And more importantly, he may have put a little bit of doubt into Dallas's mind, thinking, what? This is going to be harder than we thought to score on Stuart Skinner.
For sure. I thought he did a great job handling the puck, too, made things a little easier for
Yeah.
his defenseman. He's not necessarily known as a fantastic puck handling goaltender, but he thought he did a good job of that. He looked calm in there right from the get-go. And Struddy, that was a good sign for the Oilers, man, because if they're going to beat the Dallas Stars, they're going to need Stuart Skinner to be not just steady, not just okay. I think they're going to need him to be excellent. And I think when you're at this stage of the playoffs, I think that's a reasonable expectation of your goaltending, is for it to be excellent. And he certainly was in game number 1. Thanks, buddy. This was fun. We'll check back in after game 2. Oilers and Dallas Stars set to go again on Saturday night.